welcome to a very special episode of the PlayStation Platinum Project. That is because today is the 8th of December. Remember, the PlayStation Platinum Project was a challenge to try and find all 160 Platinum released PlayStation 1 games over the course of 2023. And in a crazy coincidence, we have 23 days left to find 23 games. Let the games begin. Folks, and welcome back to the PlayStation Platinum Project. My challenge for 2023 to try and find all 160 Platinum released PlayStation 1 games. And we are really coming down to the wire now. This is the penultimate episode of this series. That is because we have just 23 days left of 2023 to find our final 23 games and complete the PlayStation Platinum Project. So this time the stakes have never been higher, but just before we jump into this episode, I want to remind you folks, if you enjoy this episode, hit that like button and subscribe, as I put new episodes out every Saturday night at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And if this is your first time watching the PlayStation Platinum Project, I will link all of the episodes so far in a playlist down below. We're starting this episode with a little bit of housekeeping. That's because you may remember last time I tried to buy the Platinum version of this game, F1 Season 2001 off eBay, and they sent me the Black Label version. Now, of course I'm looking for the Platinum version of this game, and I managed to find it in a place where so far in the PlayStation Platinum Project I have bought no games. And no, it is not eBay. This is the first games for the PlayStation Platinum Project which I have purchased unwanted. I cannot believe it took me until December to buy a game for the PlayStation Platinum Project unwanted, and this one came in clutch. So I managed to make a deal on a bundle of games. So these games were originally up as a bundle. I will unpackage this as I explain, because this has the entire world supply of bubble wrap around these two games. So the first game I saw in this bundle that I needed was, of course, that F1 2001, and it was the Black Label version. As you can see, there is a lot of cling film here. Sorry, bubble wrap. And here it is, Formula 1 2001, and yes, this time it is the Platinum version. And again, this is not in English, which is quite surprising that I bought this from someone here in England off of Vinted. But not only did I manage to pick up finally a Platinum version of Formula 1 2001, I also have a game here, which was actually the final game that I needed to pick up from CEX, except for one that they still have in stock for the PlayStation Platinum Project. It is Medieval 2. Now, again, this is not the English version of this game, but I managed to get these two in a really good bundle deal. And this does mean that as of now, unless stocks change, I have every single PlayStation 1 Platinum game that CEX sell, except for Silent Hill. So let's talk about Silent Hill. With 23 days left of the PlayStation Platinum Project, I have come to a realization. With one of, if not perhaps the heaviest hitter and quite possibly the most expensive game in the PlayStation Platinum Project, I may have to go for a CEX roulette. But here is the thing. Of the many copies of Silent Hill for the PlayStation 1 with the Platinum label in stock in various CEX stores around the country, none of these are within driving distance for me at the moment. We are on the lead up till Christmas, and time is becoming a very precious commodity. So I will put the list at the side of the screen here of the stores which have the Silent Hill Platinum game inside. And this is another time I'm asking for your help, the viewers, the retro gaming community. If one of these CEX stores is local to you, please try and head there. Find some pictures of this Platinum game. I need to find a complete, good condition copy of Silent Hill for the PlayStation 1, and only you can help me complete the PlayStation Platinum Project. So we have got to the point where I can no longer shop for PlayStation Platinum games in CEX, but From the beginning of the PlayStation Platinum project, one of the things which I wanted to do the most with this series was to shine a spotlight on some of the amazing independent gaming stores we have here in the UK. And for one last time, for the first time ever, we are visiting another of these amazing independent game stores. Here we are then at the Retro Hunter in Leigh-on-Sea. Perhaps for the final time, I wanted to shine a spotlight on one of the amazing independent gaming shops we have here in the UK. And of course, I'm headed straight to the PlayStation 1 section. Now, whilst this was an absolutely amazing PlayStation 1 selection, quite possibly one of the best selections I've ever seen in any independent gaming shop, there were some top tier titles here, but unfortunately, nothing that I needed for the PlayStation Platinum project. But this store was absolutely stocked with some of the best gaming stuff I've ever seen, and I couldn't just leave it at PS1, so let's jump into the whole of this store. What really stood out for me about the Retro Hunter was the range of stock they had in. Like, when was the last time you saw a Virtual Boy in a gaming store? And it's some of these more obscure things like the Mega Drive Master System Adapter 2, wireless Mega Drive 2 controllers. I've never seen these in the wild, and I was very tempted, even though they had a very high price tag. And just some really cool obscure things like PlayStation 1, like arcade sticks, a boxed and complete 32X, which even with that 350 quid price tag was very, very tempting. Now, while I wasn't able to find any PlayStation Platinum games that I needed for my collection, when it comes to game collecting, the Retro Hunter had an absolutely amazing selection, including one of the biggest sections of 32X games I've ever seen. Yes, it's only 5 or 6 games, but to see these in the wild is such a rarity, and honestly, it's a console which in the future I will probably collect for, like I am collecting for now for the Mega CD. Now, both of these consoles are super pricey to collect for, but honestly, even seeing these games in the wild is an amazing feat. Now, here we have a game which is somewhat of a holy grail for myself. Steel Battalion for the OG Xbox, with one of, if not the biggest controller ever created for any game. And yes, this controller is required to play this game, and it is a thing of absolute beauty. It's not just 2 massive joysticks and about 100 buttons, it's also a set of foot pedals. The size and price tag means I haven't picked this one up yet, but hopefully in the future. As well as a huge selection of games and some real rarities, the Retro Hunter also had a very large selection of handhelds, including these really cool Tiger Electronic games. I did pass on these, but heading over to the Game Boy games, strangely, fun fact, this is one of the first video games I ever played. I think I got this game, Mario and Yoshi, with my Game Boy back in the late 80s, early 90s. I got this and Tetris, and for me, this was the game I played more of. And I was very, very tempted to pick this one up because it was absolutely minty, but it was actually my wife who picked up a game she's been looking for ages. Blues Brothers for the SNES. Now, this is a heavy hitter, and this was CIB, but this one has a bit of a backstory, as last year, around this time of year, just before Christmas, we went into the Norwich CEX, and my wife passed on an absolute mint copy of Blues Brothers 2000 for the N64, and when she saw this one, she wasn't going to make that mistake twice, and this was a game we grabbed. But it is not just amazing video games in the Retro Hunter. They also have an absolutely ginormous section of retro and modern toys. And there was some really, really cool stuff in here. I could have spent a lot of money in here. And if you are a fan of retro toys, make sure you stay tuned for next Saturday's episode. As, spoiler alert, I went to what I believe is the best retro toy shop in the whole of the UK, so stay tuned for that one. Back to the Retro Hunter and check out this amazing vintage TMNT vehicle here, £70, and I just love the artwork on these, and the prices in here were absolutely fantastic. Like 65 quid for a complete turtle van is an absolute steal, and again, one I was very tempted by. There was some really, really nice WWF figures in here, some really cool Ghostbuster stuff, and of course, even more TMNT stuff. This was an absolute fire selection of retro toys, and literally had a little bit of everything which I love, including the OG Rocksteady, which I've been looking for a very, very long while. And the displays in here was such a thing of beauty. Everything was displayed so lovingly, so cool. Just so much great stuff that just took me back to those memories of some of these toys in the late 80s and early 90s. And this Lara Croft statue was a thing of absolute beauty. And there was even more fantastic video games in here. These were some of the high-end stuff. The stuff in the cabinets here was high-end Grail items. And all of these games were in absolutely incredible condition. And there was some real heavy hitters here, but nothing compared to seeing this. Have you ever seen a CIB Jaguar CD? At 900 quid, this truly is a Grail item. Here we are then, back in the games room from my first ever trip to the Retro Hunter in Leigh-on-Sea. And I could have spent a lot of money in that store. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have the biggest budget on that day, and you will see why later in this episode. But it was in fact my wife who did not come away empty-handed. She picked up this amazing copy of the Blues Brothers for the SNES, and this is in absolutely amazing condition. And I said in that video there, it was this time last year when we went into my local CX store and we both saw a absolutely minty copy of Blues Brothers 2000 for the N64, and we both still to this day live in regret for not picking that game up, because sometimes with rare games such as this one, the time to buy it is the time you see it. One thing that has blown me away throughout the PlayStation Platinum project is the support that I've got from both the viewers and the retro gaming community as a whole. So many people have reached out to either trade games or even to donate games to the PlayStation Platinum project, and honestly, without you folks watching and everyone helping with the PlayStation Platinum project, I would not have got as far as I have so far. And that's why I'm on the sofa now. We have a very special package here from a viewer of the channel, Rob from Cardiff. And in here is not just a PlayStation Platinum game that we needed for the PlayStation Platinum project, but also another load of amazing donations to my amazing collection. In today's episode, we're going to be jumping into this package so I can show you what PlayStation 1 Platinum game Rob has donated to the PlayStation Platinum project. But stay tuned for a very special episode coming next Wednesday, where I'll be unboxing the rest of this, as well as some amazing other gifts and donations to the channel sent in by my friends, family and fans. Rob reached out to me because he had a PlayStation Platinum game which I needed for the PlayStation Platinum project, and this one has eluded me for far too long. It is Rugrats in Paris, the movie. And I cannot believe how difficult this one has been to find. So, Rob, massive thanks for sending me this one. I'm really pleased to finally cross this one off the list for the PlayStation Platinum project. Now, this copy of Rugrats the movie is important for a couple of reasons. Firstly, again, I just want to thank Rob and anyone and everyone who has reached out to me and helped me succeed in getting this far in the PlayStation Platinum project. I am eternally grateful, and it is really starting to pay off, because this is the 140th game I've added to the PlayStation Platinum project. That means we have just 20 games left of the 160 games that make up the PlayStation 1 Platinum library. And this means a couple of things. First off, these last 20 games are very, very hard to find. And secondly, these last 20 games, some of them are very, very expensive. When it comes down to these last 20 games, one of the only ways that I'm going to succeed in completing the PlayStation Platinum project is jumping on these on eBay. And with some of these games, I have never seen them before. In the case of some of these games, this is the only copy of this game for sale on eBay at the moment. And in here is a game which has eluded me for a very, very long while. Need for Speed Road Challenge. Now, at first I actually thought this was an exclusive to either France or Germany, but I actually managed to pick up this copy from the UK. It was just over 20 quid, but even though none of these games are super expensive, when it comes to the cumulative total of the PlayStation Platinum project, these are some of the most expensive games that so far I've had to add to the PlayStation Platinum project. With the PlayStation Platinum project, I've had to do so much research, and I've learned so much throughout the PlayStation Platinum project, such as useless information like this. So this game, Need for Speed Road Challenge, was released in different regions as Need for Speed High Stakes. And I am glad I picked up this copy from the UK, as the Australian version, known as High Stakes, is a lot more expensive. Now, maybe down the road I'll go for variants, but at the moment I'm just glad to add this one for a fraction of the price and a little bit closer to home rather than having to spend High Stakes. Here we have one of the most expensive games that I have had to buy for the PlayStation Platinum project. And it's not just the price of this game which has made it expensive, it's because of the postage. This game has come all the way from Italy and had £21 of postage, making this a £55 game. But this game was also a previous CEX fail, which may make you remember which game this is. Thankfully, it's packaged very well. It is in amazing condition, and it is Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare. And to the best of my knowledge, this is an Italian exclusive. I have very rarely seen a copy of this game, and when this one popped up on my eBay, I had to buy it. Yes, it was £55 or thereabouts, but we are coming down to the last games for the PlayStation Platinum project, and who knows how many more chances I'd have to pick this one up and add it to the collection. Which nicely leads us on to this next game, which up till now is the most expensive game which I've had to buy for the PlayStation Platinum project. This game once again had £20 postage on top of a £60 game, and once again this one is not just from Italy, but also once again this one is ironically another failed CEX roulette. I wish I could say I managed to pick up the Platinum version of this game from CEX. It would have been substantially cheaper than the price I had to pay for a game which I never ever see. I knew I had one chance to buy this game and cross it off the list for the PlayStation Platinum project. For £80, the most expensive game so far in the PlayStation Platinum project is this Oddworld Abe's Exodus. This game has been so difficult to get hold of. I don't know again if this is an Italian exclusive game. You just do not see this game, and regardless of the price, I had to grab it. Which brings us on to the final PlayStation Platinum game which we are adding to the PlayStation Platinum project this time. And honestly, of the 160 games on this list, this was the one that I thought was going to be the hardest game to find for the PlayStation Platinum project. And I definitely owe a debt for this one. I got a shout out from Digital Monkery over on the Unofficial Controller podcast Discord page, and he pointed me in the direction of this game for sale on eBay, and I could not find this game anywhere. I have scoured not just eBay but websites around the world to try and find this game. To me, this could be the rarest game in the PlayStation Platinum project. It's not even the most expensive. It's just the fact this game is nigh on impossible to find. I knew this game was going to be hard to find because it is a French exclusive. Without further ado, this is one of the hardest games to find for the PlayStation Platinum project. As of now, I cannot find a copy of this game anywhere in the world. Also, this is the greatest packaging I've ever seen for a PlayStation 1 game. This game is, of course, when I finally get to it, the suspense is building, Lucky Luke for the PlayStation 1, and this is the Platinum release of this game. It is a French exclusive. It is an incredible rarity. This one only set me back just over £20, but the real challenge with Lucky Luke is finding a copy of this game. And there is nothing left to do this episode but to try this game out. I have never played a Lucky Luke game, and because of the rarity of this game, I'm going to play it today for the very first time. Now, of course, due to the rarity of this game, I have never played it before, and I have no idea what the controls are, and to be honest, no idea about basically anything about the game in general. So I'm literally experiencing this for the very first time. So I'm presuming these dollars are a good thing. It's like circle fires our gun, square jumps, and X runs. So other than that, I have very little knowledge of this game. Even less so how to actually play this game, because you know, why would I go and read the instructions where we can jump straight into this one? So essentially we're going to both have to work this one out at the same time. And honestly, this was the kind of thing with a lot of these games back in the day. It did not explain very much how to actually play this one. And so far it does appear that I'm stuck with how to jump over these boxes. See, that's pretty impressive for a puzzle element in this game, and I guess this game could be a bit more complicated than it looks from the outside, and especially how to shoot this guy over here. So it's about this point I am going to give up on this one for now, but this is one of the things about some of these old school PlayStation 1 games. This was before the time you could jump on the internet. You just had to spend countless hours trying to work out some of these incredibly confusing puzzles. Fear not, folks, I did realise eventually there's a very subtle clue to how to solve this puzzle. We do, of course, have to shoot upwards, up here, using a D-pad to position our gun to shoot this box so it falls down. Thus, we can continue our adventure playing Lucky Luke. There we have it then, folks. That was the penultimate episode of the PlayStation Platinum Project, and this time we have just 8 games to cross off the list, meaning we are down to the final 15. 15 games left to find for the PlayStation Platinum Project. Let's cross these ones off the list and add them to the shelf. It never ceases to amaze me how many of these games we have managed to find for the PlayStation Platinum Project, and none more so than Lucky Luke. And it gives me such great pleasure to finally add what I believe is the rarest PlayStation 1 Platinum game of all time to the collection and add it to the shelf. There we have it then, folks. That was the penultimate episode of the PlayStation Platinum Project, and we are so close I can taste it. With just 23 days left of 2023, we are down to the final 15. We have 15 games left to find for the PlayStation Platinum Project to complete that goal of finding all 160 PAL-released PlayStation 1 games. And now more than ever, for the final time, I'm asking for your help. If you have any of these games in your collection, if you see any of these games for sale on eBay, CEX, anywhere, let me know. I'm willing to pay or trade for these games so I can complete the PlayStation Platinum Project. There is just one episode left of this series, and it will be the wrap-up episode either right at the end of this year or early in 2024. So join me next time for the final episode of the PlayStation Platinum Project, and until then, let the games begin. See you all soon.